Hey everybody, welcome back to the Raising Special Kids Quick Connect Facebook Live series. My name is Brittany Miller and I'm excited to be back hosting this week. Again, this is the Raising Special Kids Quick Connect Facebook Live series. This month we've been focusing on special education. Well, I guess last month actually. We're now on September 1st, if you can believe it or not. But we've had a great time, coming up with topics that address families' real concerns right now as they've started school with their child, as they're calling Raising Special Kids with their special education questions, and bringing information that you need to know as a parent as you're supporting your child in school and in the IEP process. Again, I'm Brittany. I'm happy to be hosting today. Just some reminders, Raising Special Kids is here for you. I'll probably say that a lot during this session, but if you need individual assistance for your child, have questions about the special education process, need advice on working with your child's IEP team, don't forget to call us. We're happy to help, and we've been busy doing that with families, this busy back to school season, and we'll put our contact information in the comments. Two, don't forget to catch up on our recent Quick Connect series that we've done on some really important topics that families need to know about. We started out doing a great one on the procedural safeguards. As a parent, your child qualifies for an IEP. Now, what now? What are my rights? What do I need to know about if there's a problem? What are my dispute resolution options? It's a really helpful Quick Connect Facebook Live video that you can watch. It lives on our Facebook timeline, on our website, in our video library, and also on our YouTube channel. And then we also did one that went over all of the IDEA disability eligibility categories for special education, talked about what that meant and how your child may qualify for an IEP. So catch up on those. But today, let's get to our topic, because it's a really important one that many families do not know about. So, families reach out to Raising Special Kids every weekday with special education questions. They may call us, asking, what does this IEP mean? I don't understand the terminology. How do I talk to my child's school team if there's a problem? This is stressful and emotional and I don't know what to do. We really practice teaching parent-professional collaboration. We want you to be successful and have a positive relationship with your child's school team, and share with you the tools that are available to help make that happen. There is kind of an unknown option, as a family support specialist, when I talk to families, if I've brought up the suggestion of, you ever heard of a facilitated IEP before? A lot of families haven't, and I've heard that from my other colleagues as well when we're talking about potential services and supports for families. So I have actually some really great information directly from the Arizona Department of Education that I am going to review with you about this, so that you can consider if this is something you need to do for your child in working with the school team. So to start things out, what is a facilitated IEP? And here's another acronym for you. If you look on the Department of Ed's website, it's FIEP. So we'll see if I can remember that with all the different acronyms that come in special education, as you all know about. So the state coordinated facilitated IEP is a program that is free and it's voluntary through the Arizona Department of Education. You can actually request this online, and we'll make sure we put information in the comments on how to do that. It's pretty simple. But the reason a family or a school district, because they have the right to request one as well, the reason why they may utilize this option is if there's been, experiencing communication difficulties, maybe the IEP team is having a hard time during the meetings, things aren't going well, there's tension and they're not making progress, and both parties agree, it would be really great to have a neutral facilitator come who's impartial and help run this IEP meeting, help make sure that all parties have a chance to speak, model effective communication strategies, help them stay on task. There's so many different benefits of having that neutral facilitator there. So that may be, one of the main reasons why a family or a school district would request a facilitated IEP. It's a free service, which is great. A trained facilitator comes to the meeting and runs the IEP meeting for you. So it actually is a lot like a regular IEP meeting. You just have a neutral facilitator there, keeping everyone on task. This person, it's important to note, they're not an IEP team member, so they don't make decisions. They're kind of like an advocate for the process to make sure, FAPE, that free and appropriate public education, is the focus for that child, keeping the meeting about the child and helping the school and the parent work together to develop this child's IEP. They help keep things on task, give each party a chance to speak, and honestly, it's a very effective tool. We've helped many families at Raising Special Kids who have used the facilitated IEP and have been successful and getting an appropriate IEP developed for their child and preserving that positive relationship with the school. So, when might it be appropriate to request this? So I kind of mentioned it before, but IEP facilitation, it's really for when there's, previous meeting attempts have just not worked. It's been unsuccessful. You haven't been able to finish the IEP. There's some conflict. As a parent who's been through many IEP meetings before, it can be stressful, as you all know, hearing about your child's struggles and their strengths, but kind of figuring out, what supports and services do they need, hearing some things that maybe aren't as fun if your child is struggling with behaviors or having a hard time, and being able to be at a meeting together to work that out sometimes can be hard. And so this is one of the reasons why this option is available for us to utilize. To request a facilitated IEP, it is important to note that the Arizona Department of Education wants to make sure that previous meeting attempts, you've tried that. You've tried to have a regular IEP meeting, it hasn't worked, and then now you're considering, requesting a facilitated IEP. What are the benefits? I've said it a few times already, but the IEP facilitator can help ensure full participation for all parties. They're neutral, so they're not there for anybody. They're not there to advocate for the school district. They're not there to advocate for the parent. They're there to make sure that they run the IEP meeting smoothly, that everyone has a chance to speak, and that the focus stays on the child. They also can model, effective communication strategies, give suggestions and show, conflict resolution options that are more effective, and just be there to kind of make sure the process goes smoothly. They do a few things that are different though. So if you request a facilitated IEP and the school district and the parent both agree to it, the facilitator, there's a few differences in a regular IEP meeting. So what happens that's different is they contact you beforehand. So, an important difference is that in advance of the meeting, the facilitator will contact the parent and the school to identify issues and topics to be discussed. Figure out, why is this meeting needed? What has happened at previous meetings? What can I do to help as we have this scheduled meeting? They'll gather that information, and based on that, they'll create the agenda for the meeting. The Arizona Department of Education gives some really helpful tips for parents on how to prepare and make, real positive use of this time that you have with the facilitator in having this IEP meeting with the school. And some of these tips are, and this one was a little bit difficult to swallow, I admit, when I read it. Parents, you'll get it. Set aside at least 3 hours to meet. I'm told sometimes they can last longer, but it's really the goal to work it out at this meeting, right? Like, it hasn't worked in the past, so we're going to come together, dedicate this time to work together to make sure that this child receives their free and appropriate public education, and we get their individualized education program developed, that IEP. Bring relevant documents to reference. If there's information or notes or assessments or anything like that you want to share with the team, bring it with you. Review the agenda in advance so you feel prepared. Come to the meeting with ideas about several possible solutions. Come with a positive attitude. Come with the attitude that, yes, we're going to make this work, we're going to figure it out, and you know your child best, so bring some of those ideas to the meeting to share with the team. Identify and rank core interests. So, prioritize what you want to talk about and what's important to you and what you're willing to compromise on, and bring that information and be ready to talk about it. Consider options that would be acceptable to meet identified needs. Think about, what is super important to me, what can I compromise on, what is acceptable to me. When talking with the school, come with an attitude of, I'm going to compromise, we're going to work together and try to develop this IEP that's going to best support my child. And stay open to a fresh start. Admittedly, if you're at this facilitated IEP meeting and you're in this point, it likely hasn't gone very well in the past. So come knowing that this is going to be a fresh start. I want to preserve that relationship with the school, and vice versa. The school district, come ready to work with that parent and have that attitude of collaboration. What has been tried before did not resolve the conflict, so come open to new ideas. And lastly, try to acknowledge the positive things that the team is doing. When working with families, we sometimes say it's okay to be firm, but be kind and be professional and collaborative. It's easy to nitpick and pick out things that aren't going well, but many, many IEP teams have the best interest of that child, and they're just trying to do their best. And so recognizing that as a parent will make that meeting go better. It just will. Some important considerations to remember that are, I want to make sure we addressed is facilitated IEPs. They may only address IEP team decisions. They should not delay that annual IEP renewal date. So every year, the team meets to renew the child's IEP. The facilitated IEP option shouldn't cause delays with that if you're utilizing it. Remember, this is important, the facilitator is not an IEP team member. So they're not making decisions. They're just there to help the process move smoothly. The PEA, so the Public Education Agency representative, it's the same as if it was a regular IEP meeting. If you're meeting at this facilitated IEP and you can't come to consensus, all parties aren't in agreement, maybe you disagree with something the school district is saying and you're firm in your ground, and there needs to be someone to bring consensus. Just like in any other IEP meeting, the district representative will do that. They will be the person to make that decision. However, as a parent, if you disagree with that, you have procedural safeguards that we talked about, mediation, other dispute resolution options like due process, which of course, the facilitated IEP is trying to work things out less formally, so you don't have to get to that point, but you still have those rights and procedural safeguards after the facilitated IEP meeting as you would after a regular meeting. And if you need help with that, please call Raising Special Kids and we can talk to you about that process and kind of talk about next steps and what to do. So we've gotten this question many times too, and I'm really glad that this information is being provided by the Department of Ed. So what is the difference between a facilitated IEP versus mediation? So it kind of sounds the same, right? Like you're going to a meeting, there's someone facilitating or mediating this meeting, but it's actually very different. So mediation is part of the procedural safeguards we have as parents. It's a formal dispute resolution option for school districts and parents of children with disabilities to utilize. Mediation is not used to develop the IEP, so it's not an IEP meeting like the facilitated IEP is. It's a way to resolve conflict or address a specific issue through a written and signed legally binding agreement, where on the other hand, a facilitated IEP is an informal dispute resolution option, and it's an IEP meeting where the facilitator is there to help you and your school team develop your child's IEP and just be that conductor of the meeting, helping everyone stay on task with the agenda and making sure everyone has a chance to speak. If you have additional questions about mediation, please call us. We can talk to you about that. And really consider the facilitated IEP because it's a really great option that many families aren't aware of, and it can be a very positive way to resolve conflicts and preserve that relationship with your child's IEP team. So, like anything else, things aren't perfect. What if it doesn't work out? I go to this meeting, I'm excited, and I meet with the school team and we just can't come to consensus. Or as a parent, I'm not happy afterwards. You have the same rights that you had before, where, the school district, the PEA representative will give you a prior written notice of its proposals and refusals of any action they're going to do or not do. And the parent has that option to decide, what other dispute resolution options do I want to utilize. But I will say in helping families, we've seen many IEP meetings that were not going well before they utilize the facilitated IEP option go very well when they request it and meet with the school team. And often in the end of the day, we're just doing this to help the child, right? And so developing that IEP and making sure that FAPE, that free and appropriate public education, is the focus and that child is the focus is one of the benefits of having that facilitator there, because emotions can be heightened, people are human and they're just really there to make sure the process goes smoothly. So it can be very effective, and we encourage families to check it out. There's some great resources on the Arizona Department of Education website. We'll put that in the chat that goes over, the facts you need to know. Some of them most of them I reviewed today, and also how to request it. It's super easy. You can do it online. Arizona Center for Disability Law has some great information about facilitated IEPs, and we'll also share that in the chat as well. If you have additional questions about this process, or any question about special education for your child, please reach out to Raising Special Kids. We want to help you. We want to make sure that your child has a successful school year and be there to support you in any way that you can. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.